No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour. Need sleepy. Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check it out online, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or you can give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the JKJ Boxing Magazine. Get yourself a copy. It's for free. That's right. You can subscribe for free. Now, you can download a copy by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, clicking on the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover, or you can get a copy like the one I'm holding up right now in your grubby little paws just by paying the postage. Just visit our website and click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine for all the information. Joining me right now, my partners in crime, Sal Rocky Senecola and the infamous Jeremy C. What's up, fellas?
Billy.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Jeremy.
Hey, Sal, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
It is a good morning. It is. The sun is shining here in upstate New York, and we're getting some nice, well, it's calling for some nice weather over the weekend. So anyway, hey, before we went on air, we were chatting a little bit.
We did a whole show already.
Yeah, we did a whole show already. But
We did.
Before we went on air, Sal, you were telling us about a new magazine subscription you got, huh? Tell us.
Oh, man, that's unbelievable. I stopped the other day. You know, I used to love to buy the Ring magazine when I was an active professional fighter, and even in my amateur days. So I bought it every month. And I go to the newsstand the other day, and I wanted to pick up a copy. And I think it was $9 for the copy of Ring magazine. And the guy said, that'll be $9. I said, what? He said $9. I said, boy, the last time I even looked at this magazine when I was ranked in it in the 80s, and it was like $2 a magazine. So
I was going to buy a $9 magazine.
$9
I had to ask for installment payments.
Yeah, $9. You got to take a mortgage out for that. You know, and the thing is that by the time they go to print now, it's all old news, man.
Right.
You know, I mean, come on. You know, I used to get I used to get Ring magazine to see who's ranked where, and get some photos of the fighters up close and all this. Now it's old news, man. They Instagram the photo as soon as it's taken. It's everybody can see it. You know, as far as the rankings, you see them months. I mean, what's the month? What's the issue? What is it, like November's issue already? I mean, that's how they do the Ring magazine. That's become, hey, technology now, guys. You know, it's like the newspaper. I used to love reading the newspaper, but now I pick it up. And it's old news. I already know everything that took place, you know?
Hey, this issue's May of 2016.
Oh, that's
like seeing into the future,
yeah,
but filled with the past.
Yeah, exactly. Looking
Seeing
into the
future with information from the past.
Exactly.
Magazine.
That's right.
I can't believe they even still waste paper on magazines. No offense to your sponsor there, Bill.
No. Exactly.
I think I'll look at JKJ.
Yeah, we're not talking about JKJ now.
No. JKJ magazine is totally different. I mean, if you want the latest and greatest information. No, but you see that magazine.
Just in, Billy C. loses sponsor.
Yeah.
Read about it in the new Ring magazine
Right,
in
exactly.
November.
Yeah, and in the new issue that's coming out next week, it's November's issue, you know.
Find out the latest news 2 months from now.
Exactly.
How do they even think that they have the latest news
Well,
anymore?
look at it this way. I will say this. I get the Farmer's Almanac every year, and damn, if they're not accurate, you know, they're calling for weather.
Well,
they print it out.
On that. Look at my snow days out of school. We get it at like 5th grade, 6th grade. Hey, I think we're going to be off this day of school over in December. What do you guys want to do?
Well, listen, you know, I think Al Roker should try using the almanac because it's a little more accurate than his forecast sometimes. But
I use weather.com, guys.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Even like for weather, who the hell? Nobody even. The only reason why they watch it, if you notice, the weather reporters now generally are hot chicks dressed like you know they want to go out and carouse, and that's the only reason why you're watching.
You know what makes me laugh? And now I hope I don't hurt anyone's feelings in New Hampshire.
Oh, come on. Oh, yeah. Speaking of New Hampshire, we'll give a shout out to our ESPN New Hampshire listeners. Hey, but I just want to say hello and that I love you guys. So for whatever Jeremy's about to say, has nothing to do with me or our product lines.
No, this is what I was going to say. I can't take it anymore when I'm driving around. I'm listening to the radio, and I hear them give the weather. I'm like, first of all, I can see outside. Second of all, everyone I know, I don't know anyone that doesn't have a phone that pushes the weather information right to them. I don't need you to tell me the weather anymore, Mr. Radio. Whoever's running radio.
Hey, sometimes I think they should look out the window. You're hearing them giving you a report, and you look out the window, you go, wonder what the hell.
That's because they recorded in another country, another state.
That's what I'm saying.
The day before. Today, partly cloudy with sun. I'm like, it's snowing.
Hey, the bottom line is sometimes it does seem like they're reporting from a different place than you're listening from. That's for sure.
Well, that's because that's a fact, Bill.
I'll make one last comment that I had.
Oh, you're still on the line? You're still on the line? Oh,
I'm trying to talk, but excuse me.
Sorry,
I have one
I'm a little
last
fired
comment.
up today, Sal. I need some pizza.
The best thing, I'm coming down. Anyway, listen, I had always gone in the past to AAA. When I was a financial rep.
Hey, stop drinking. Just stop drinking. If stop with the listen. If you have a drinking problem, stop with the AAA. Just
Club of America.
Oh, that's right. It's AA. MCO. Go ahead.
So I'd go to the local office and I'd say I need my triptych. I need a map drawn and I need directions to get to. If I'm leaving. Jersey,
wait. Hold on. Your triptych. What did they give you? A hit of acid?
And they print out this booklet with page after page after page of continuing maps and everything else, and it was neat. Now all I got to do is ask Siri or something else. Boom, I got the miles, I got the directions, and I got a tour guide.
I don't know. This is a guy still keeping track of all his business empire in a loose leaf binder. So
it works, right, Sal?
Yeah. Hey, if it works.
I don't see Billy complaining when he's eating a delicious piece of pizza.
No, I don't. But I complain most of the other times. But hey, listen, I got an email from my man Joel.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah, but it's kind of a serious topic. And over the past weekend, there was a MMA fighter who passed away after having a fight in Ireland. And Joel says, I'm not sure if you heard or read about the death of Brazilian MMA fighter Yoel Carvalho, who passed away after having a fight in Ireland over the weekend. From what you have read or heard, do you think the promoter and medical team took the right precautions, or do you think there is something more that could have been done to avoid the tragic event? It's unfortunate, but thankfully not often that deaths happen in boxing and MMA. But I am deeply saddened by this. I'm wondering if maybe the ref and cornermen could be educated better in all the sports to avoid these types of things from happening. I understand sometimes it's not them, but we feel that we can all learn from this to better the athletes. He's got another comment, and I know we were fooling around about a lot of other stuff, and this is a serious topic. I did watch the video that Joel was kind enough to send me a link to. And I read, some stuff on it. I did not see it live. But here's the thing. In MMA, Sal, you know about boxing and the multiple blows to the head and stuff can cause, head trauma, ultimating, of course, possibly resulting in death or other problems. Not that there's any worse than that, but... the thing that bothers me, and they've always tried to say in boxing is worse because it's a sustained attack. You're throwing punch after punch after punch.
It's always been the argument.
Right, and MMA is quick, and but in this case, when I watched the video, the guy's on the ground getting pummeled. That has to do some damage. I mean, even boxing in its, most... a prehistoric form during the era of my guy, Tom Molyneux, about the book I wrote, you weren't allowed to hit a guy while he's down. I mean, I knew that this was going to happen once it started. Do you think it's going to be a domino effect and maybe get people to open their eyes about the dangers of MMA?
Yeah, you're going to see something, Bill. I think this is going to result in a lot of revisiting, if you will.
Yeah,
I mean,
bud.
head trauma is head trauma, whether it's one blow or sustained blows. You keep knocking the egg around or the yolk around in your head, it's going to eventually scar or diminish or have atrophy where it's going to cause the rest of your body to shut down or not work as well as it should. And it could be that one big blow or it could be multiple blows over a sustained period of time. And sure, my stance on MMA. I'm not a great big fan of it. I respect it. I'm a boxing purist, and I understand when you're on the ground in boxing. That's when you go to your neutral corner and let the referee take over. But I know if it's a big thing, you get in these moves and you get in the wrestling moves and the judo moves, and you're pounding the guy and he can tap out, and it's a whole nother bag that you're going to open up with this, and I'm sure you're going to have the feel-good police right now looking at what they could do to not have that occur on a regular basis.
Yeah, well, I mean, the nature of the sport, they're allowed to hit the guy when he's down.
I know.
Yeah. and in this case, he was down. And he's like kneeling over him, just pummel him the way I remember high school fights being, and
yeah, exactly.
It's not good, and the thing was that he was walking around. The doctors claim they checked him out, and those types of injuries sometimes similar to an auto accident where you get, you're in an auto accident and they ask everyone, hey, are you okay? And it's like, oh yeah, everything's fine. And then it's not, So I don't know, man. It's a serious issue, and it's sad that this happened. As another part of the email, real quick before we take a break, Joel says Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua may be fighting again this summer. What do you think? Who do you think would be a first opponent for him? A domestic UK name, or do you think they'll find a decent world-ranked heavyweight to fight him? I wonder if it'll be David Haye or Shannon Briggs, simply because it would draw because of their names, big mouths, etc. As far as I'm concerned, Sal, and we have about a minute, I think they're going to give him an easier fight. I don't think they're going to be making him fight a mandatory first fight out of the gate. So I'm thinking it'll be a similar opponent to what Deontay Wilder fought in his first defense, a guy that has a good-looking record, but no one dangerous. What's your quick thoughts?
I agree 100%. I think, they're going to take care of this kid. I mean, he's a good young fighter, and he's a champion. And, let's let him showcase a little bit in his backyard and maybe get the international exposure, but let's let him look good against a nice, formidable opponent. And I think just that, his next fight out, it'll be challenging, but he should be able to look good in defeating his opponent pretty handily.
Yeah, and as far as David Haye and Shannon Briggs, those two guys are on a collision course themselves, from what I understand. David Haye he's fighting in May, and Shannon Briggs will be on the undercard, and should they both win, they've already signed to fight each other. So I could see the winner of the Haye-Briggs fight fighting Anthony Joshua at some point. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. Don't anybody go anywhere. And in about 2 minutes, we'll be back.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now, back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And, we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. I want to give a shout out to our radio listeners on ESPN New Hampshire. Glad you guys could join us. We're glad to be part of your sports programming. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, an Italian restaurant located in the Golden Isles of Georgia, St. Simon's Island to be exact. Check out his menu, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. And despite poor Sal spending $9 on a Ring magazine, you could get JKJ Boxing magazine for free. Check it out and visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing magazine cover. And my man Sal Senecola is with us right now, and I think the infamous Jeremy C. might still be with us too, right?
That's right,
Oh,
Billy.
good. And Sal too, right? And Sal too, right? So
Absolutely, I'm here.
Sounds like a theme song. And Billy and Jeremy and Sal too.
Yeah. So
Dun, 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 dun.
oh God, hey, listen. I'm battling some technical issues here, and I'm finally figuring stuff out. But in the news, it was reported today, earlier, about a couple of hours ago, that according to Showtime's bigwig, who actually he looks like the kind of guy, Jeremy, you'd never leave your kid alone in a room with. I mean, this guy. Every time I see him, I'm going, oh my God, women, grab your kids, don't let them near this guy. But Stephen Espinoza, I might as well mention his name because I've said this before. Stephen Espinoza, the bigwig at Showtime, has made a comment that said Floyd Mayweather is willing to fight. Sal, you're going to love this. Is willing to fight Manny Pacquiao if the fans want it. Come on, man. I called it. When did I call this, Sal?
How predictable. The night you were at the pizzeria, and we had the whole staff there cheering on, and we had a great night. And you called it, Billy. As soon as that fight ended, that last bell rang, you said exactly what would happen. And right now, it couldn't have been choreographed any better than what you predicted.
What's your comments on all of this, Jeremy? I mean, I know you're a big Manny Pacquiao fan, and I know that you dislike Floyd Mayweather as much as Sal does. So
Bill.
But I respect Mayweather.
Two guys enter, one guy leaves.
This
Each
guy,
guy's got a 50-50, Bill.
You know what? The best thing about Jeremy, Sal, is that he's always right on. He's always right. I mean, anytime I get stumped in boxing, I always go to Jeremy because
he's the go-to guy.
He is. He's the go-to
I've
guy,
never been
especially
wrong.
with boxing. He's never been
When
wrong.
was the last time two guys entered and two guys left, right?
You know what? well, it has happened, but yeah. So I just want to give a shout out to everyone that is actually watching our stream. Because it is working. It's just that I don't know how it got up and running. I have no statistics to see, which I usually do. And Jeremy, YouTube has gotten so big. All right, YouTube has gotten. Now we're a YouTube partner, so I got to stay. I got to stay loyal.
The home of Billy C. Boxing.
Yeah, I got to stay loyal to YouTube. But we're a YouTube partner, and the bottom line is that YouTube has a tendency to do whatever the hell they want, whenever they want, and they don't even let anybody know. I mean, how can they get away with that?
Some of the broadcasts we've done from the pizzeria, we've learned that, how they can just yank you and do you, whatever.
Yeah, I've been waiting for somebody to yank me and do me for a long time.
Whoa, this is a family show, Bill.
Oh. That's right. But speaking of the fight.
Yanking and doing
No,
it.
speaking of Pacquiao fighting Timothy Bradley this weekend, or if we weren't speaking of it, let's speak a little bit. I got another email from my man Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C., I had Bradley winning 7 rounds to 5 over Pacquiao. I will have to look at it again to clarify, but some rounds were really close. Yesterday, Floyd Mayweather was quoted as saying that he felt that the fight was real close to. And actually, the night of the fight, he reached out to Timothy Bradley and felt that the fight was a draw. And now I'm getting an email from one of our viewers saying that he felt that Bradley actually won the fight. What fight were they watching, Sal?
I can't. You know what? Let me tell you something. But Bradley did not win that fight. And Pacquiao, I think I have my scorecard right in front of me right now. I may, at best, have given Bradley a draw on the first round, but otherwise, I think that would have been a Pacquiao 10-9. And I only gave Bradley rounds 3 and rounds 8. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, even Ray Charles saw that, Manny Pacquiao won that fight. But anyway, I don't know. Let's get everybody caught up on some other scores in Major League Baseball. The Tigers beat the Pirates 8-2. Diamondbacks over the Dodgers 4-2. The Nationals beat the Braves. Georgia team, Sal, 2-1. The Braves haven't won a game. They're 0-7.
I know, and I hear, Max Williams, my pie guy, he gives me the updates about the Yankees. I'm always the first to know when the Yankees win, as they did last night, because Max shoots me a text or tells me he's a big Yankee fan.
Let me ask you something. Does Max pay you for promotion for Max? Because I mean, because now I think Jeremy's going to start ringing a bell, a ka-ching bell, every time he mentions Max's name. Because we got to we got to get a piece of this, Jeremy. But whenever Jeremy gets a chance, he can
just
do
knows
that.
I'm excited about the Yankees.
Yeah.
I'm in Southeast Georgia. I don't hear anything outside the world except this island that I live on. So when the Yankees win, he's the first to let me know.
The Phillies blanked the Padres 3-0. The Yankees beat the Blue Jays 3-2. The Orioles. I was just talking about how the Braves are 0-7. The Orioles topped the Red Sox 9-5 to go 7-0. The Marlins beat my Mets 2-1. The Mets are in trouble. They're 2-5 right now. They can't get the bats going. I was really disappointed. David Wright, who they call the captain, which I still to this day believe was a bad move for the Mets signing him. I know he's a great guy. He's a great role model. I mean, he tries his hardest. He's just a nice face to have for your franchise. But at the end of the day, I still would have kept Reyes over David Wright. David Wright, bases loaded, a chance to open up the game. The ball game was tied 1-1, and he pops out. I mean, come on, man. 2 outs, bases loaded. And you're the Capitan. You're the guy. I hate to say it because I can't stand your Yankees, but Derek Jeter in that system, who was in that situation, who was the captain of the Yankees, I would have bet my last dollar he gets a hit out of that. I mean, that's the difference between a guy that comes through in the clutch and a guy that chokes. Derek Jeter used to come through all the time, and David Wright, he's a choking. The Marlins topped the Mets, like I said, 2-1. Mets dropped to 2-5, and I think they're in trouble. The Rays beat the Indians 5-1. Royals topped the Astros 3-2. The Giants topped the Rockies 7-2. Angels 5-4 over the A's, and the Rangers shut out the Mariners 8-0. Over in the NBA, the Pacers beat the Knickerbockers 102-90. The Heat got by the Pistons 99-93. The Raptors destroyed the hapless 76ers 122-98. Philadelphia 76ers, Sal, dropped to 10 wins and 71 losses. Hey, I think the Mets are doing bad. I feel for the 76ers fans. Spurs beat the Thunder 102-98, and the Clippers beat the Grizzlies 110-84. So anyway, hey, I know as we're wrapping up your segment here, Floyd Mayweather against Manny Pacquiao. Floyd is, saying that he will give Manny Pacquiao a rematch if the fans want it. That's our poll question right now, Sal, up on BillyCBoxing.com. Will Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather 2 happen? I think it will. I said it was going to happen way back when. Here's what I think is going to happen now, Sal. I think the fight, and I said it yesterday, I think the fight is going to take place in September. And, with that said, I bet you they officially announce it in June. I think that we're going to be talking about it from now until June, and then they're going to announce it. What do you think?
I want to talk to you later about some stocks coming up in the future. But anyway, I'll tell you what. I said on your show earlier that if Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, fight 10 times, Mayweather's going to beat Pacquiao 9 out of those 10. And I also told you that very night when you said that this is going to happen, it's going to come to fruition as we see it, that I don't know if I'm going to buy that fight to bring the show again because it was such a disappointment the first fight. We'll talk about that because I may renege on that earlier decision. But the fact is, I could see this fight coming about, and I think you're right in the fall of this year. It's these guys are getting older. They're both unofficially retired. So, yeah, I see the fight happening this year, and I see Mayweather beating Pacquiao, whether he's got a good shoulder or not.
Well, it looked pretty good on Saturday night, you know. But speaking of fighters, Adrian Broner was a guy that Washington, D.C. let fight. He went and turned himself in for his assault charge and robbery, assault and robbery charge, which he's pending. But it was announced yesterday that he got arrested for reckless driving and is actually behind bars in his home state of Ohio right now, where he will be for 10 days. Apparently, he was sentenced to 6 months probation last July for getting arrested while he was drunk, driving while he was drunk. And because the reckless driving incident took place, it's a violation of that probation, which landed him the 10 days in a slammer. And this has nothing to do with the other charge. It seems like Adrian Broner is spiraling downward quickly. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, you live your life, and you're under a microscope when you're somebody in the media and somebody ranked in the world and all eyes to see. And you know, you got to conduct yourself. You live like a professional. You know, you lead by example. And he's going to spiral down out of control. It's one thing after another. You know, you make one wrong move or bad thing, you know, you try to get back on track to do the right thing. And if you do one incident after another that's negative, you're going to have a further hole to climb out of. And eventually it's going to spiral down and you're not going to be able to climb out of it. And, you know, this might be the case with him. And, you know, it's a free world and he's got his free spirit and he should understand and do things the way he wants to lead by example. The good example.
Yeah, well, I don't think he really cares. But,
No.
Sal, appreciate you joining us today, and we'll look forward to you tomorrow. And,
Absolutely.
We'll talk about the fights scheduled for this upcoming weekend, and more than that. But we'll talk about that tomorrow and some other things, and I'll look forward to that when it happens, my man.
You got it, buddy. Tell Larry I said hi again, and thank you so much for the time. And we will talk to you tomorrow. Go out and have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you
Take
soon.
care, brother. Bye-bye.
That's Sal, Rocky, Senecola. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Scheduled to have Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard join us.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Give a shout out to all of our listeners on ESPN New Hampshire. Glad you guys could join us this morning. And we're glad to be part of your sports programming. And joining me right now is Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey's Boxing Commissioner, Larry Hazard. What's up, brother?
Hey, Billy C., how you doing, buddy?
Oh, not too bad, man. Not too bad. Let's get right into it. We got some stuff to talk about, my man.
Okay.
First and foremost, this fight this past weekend, of course, with Manny Pacquiao against Timothy Bradley. I thought Manny looked good, and it bothers me that people discredit Timothy Bradley. I mean, I hear all these, so-called experts and even the fans, they make it seem like Timothy Bradley is just like some journeyman fighter, and this guy's a quality fighter. What was your thoughts on that perception of Timothy Bradley, and of course the fight and how the fight went and all that happy stuff?
Well, I think that's a bad perception. I like you agree that Tim Bradley is, he's an elite fighter, and he gives his best, but Manny Pacquiao is just a better fighter. I think we talked about this last week, going into the fight. And, I feel like if Pacquiao and Bradley fought 10 times, Pacquiao wins at least 8 of the 10, if not 9 of the 10. It's just that their styles, and I think that Pacquiao is just a little bit more skillful. He's faster. His movement is better. And right now, he's at that point where he hasn't really peaked. He really hasn't peaked yet. I should say he's not really over the hill yet. He's pretty much, Pacquiao has kind of peaked, but he hasn't started that downhill slide yet. Okay? So, Pacquiao right now, whether he retires or not, I still think that he still has a few more good performances in him. But as far as Bradley is concerned, I think that Bradley is still at the top of that elite class. And if he wants to stick around, I think he has a few more outstanding performances in him also. He comes to fight all the time. He's in shape. And, we'll see what happens going forward. But it doesn't matter who's in his corner, who trains him. Bradley is Bradley, and Pacquiao is Pacquiao, and that's the way it's going to be. If he gets rid of Teddy Atlas now and gets another trainer, it's not going to help him any, and it's not going to hurt him any. He's going to be who he is, and until he, starts that downhill slide. But right now, I still think that he has a few more good paydays, as well as a few more good performances.
No doubt. I mean, Timothy Bradley, whether he's going to walk away, it's almost sounded like he was thinking about walking away. He's pretty much financially secure. He's smart with his money. His wife is involved. Well, maybe that's not a smart thing, but his wife is involved controlling his money. So, I know how that can go sometimes. But
well, sometimes it's a good thing, Sometimes it is a good thing.
Yeah, sometimes, but it's sometimes, and then sometimes it's like the fox guarding the hen house too. But anyway, and I found it very interesting that he kind of put Teddy Atlas on notice, and I don't blame him, because as listen, Teddy Atlas, I'm not gonna. I've always thought that he would have made a great head of USA Boxing. I think the way he trains, the way his do as I say attitude, and thinks that he's always 100% right. I think he would have been great for the amateur program. But as in the pros, he needs the right guy to take that bait, and to follow his system. And I'm not saying Timothy Bradley didn't, but it seemed to me that he was doing a lot of yelling and screaming and not really getting that technical. Although sometimes he was saying good things, but he was really pulling the motivational stuff out, especially when the camera was on him. And I think that might have gotten old with Timothy Bradley, and that's the gut feeling I had. What do you think?
Well, first off, the show business, the camera. How many times have you heard me talk about that? I mean, the camera is like poison for some of these cornermen and for many of these referees. Okay. So my feelings on that. You can't blame the trainer. You can't blame Teddy Atlas, okay? And by the same token, when a fighter does well, when he follows instructions properly, it's still the fighter who is the performer. The fighter is the person who receives the credit. The trainer is there to do the job. That's his job. He gets paid to give proper instruction. Now, if he clearly gives no instruction whatsoever and is clearly going Hollywood, yelling and screaming and all these other shenanigans, then, of course, you could say, well, get rid of this guy. He's no good to you. But I don't think that the trainer should be blamed for a good or bad performance of a fighter most of the time, nor should the trainer receive like the credit for the good performance. Sometimes we take everything out of context, and then what happens in the aftermath is that the focus is not at the right place. Bradley lost the fight. Teddy Atlas didn't lose the fight. Bradley lost the fight. During the preparation, when they were training in the training camp and all, he was given the instructions. He was told how he should fight. He was told what the strategy was. Come fight night, it's up to the fighter to lay it out on the line. Certainly you would expect that the trainer would be there to monitor the way things are going and to point out to him at certain times what he's doing wrong, what he's doing right. But I just think that there's too much focus being placed on training. Look, Bradley would have been in the same place, believe me, if he had stayed with his old trainer. It made no difference. It made no difference whatsoever. The success and failure of Timothy Bradley had nothing to do and has nothing to do at this point with whoever trains him. He should have stayed with his old trainer, okay? And I really don't feel that there would have been any difference. He would have won the last fight against Rios, which I thought he would have won anyway. He didn't need Atlas to beat Rios, okay? And he would have lost to Pacquiao, just as he did. And if he fought Pacquiao again with another different trainer, he'll lose again, because Pacquiao is a better fighter.
I
That's my opinion.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. And the one thing I kind of respect Teddy Atlas for, and it's hard for me to even say it because he's gone Hollywood so much that when he flies he's got to get an extra seat just for his ego, But the thing is that he did take the blame. Most trainers. You always hear before the fight, we're going to do this. We trained for this. We're going to attack our opponent this way. We. And then the fighter loses, and then all of a sudden, he didn't do that. He didn't listen. He didn't do, it becomes he, And Teddy Atlas actually took the blame. And,
Yeah, and I don't, I not to cut you off, Billy, but I don't think Teddy should have taken the blame.
Well, I think
it wasn't Teddy's fault.
No, I agree with you. I think that was again, him trying to take advantage of the cameras and have everyone, say exactly what I'm saying. That Teddy Atlas is a good guy for saying that and everything else. And Timothy Bradley kind of really handled that in a professional, very subtle way, because he said, "Coach, come on, it's not your fault."
Yes.
And the story, he basically let the air right out of the balloon, and Teddy Atlas really couldn't respond to that. I mean, they can't start having an argument there.
Right.
So I, it's interesting. I just feel that Timothy Bradley. He feels that yelling and spitting in his face in between rounds just got old, round after round. Timothy Bradley, like you alluded to, is at a point in his career right now where, if he's not motivated, it's time to hang him up. I mean, the motivational part, very rarely do you need, at this level, and maybe you need a kick in the ass if you're down and the fight's winding down and you got to win by knockout. I think, trainers should do that, but round after round, Larry, I mean, it was just
I know.
too much,
Well, Billy, check this out. Most of your, I guess the term would be, the appropriate term, just for lack of a better term, elite trainers. Most of the so-called elite trainers, okay, when they come into the picture, you never see them come into the picture of a fighter on his way up. They always come into the picture for a fighter who's already there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's a hired gun.
He gets fighters who are already there. Oh, he's a great trainer. That's all BS. The fighter is already there. Most of them have been taught by someone else who they've already gotten rid of, who should be getting all the credit.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not. It's a shame. It's a shame the way it's skewed, and for the average fan that looks at it and who really doesn't know a lot about the intricacies that go on behind the scenes and a little bit about the history of some of these fighters and these trainers, all of the so-called guys who are projected out there as great trainers. He's going to Freddie Roach, and he's going to. Hey, these are guys who have already arrived. These are not some kid who's trying to get there. They're not taking guys like that and then really schooling them and teaching them and bringing them up. They come into the picture with fighters who someone else has toiled in the vineyard with them. Had a lot of these guys have taken kids through the amateur ranks, Saturday afternoon, all day at amateur tournaments, eating bologna and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the car and all of that. And finally, they get to the professional ranks and they raise them up, they bring them up, and then once they arrive, they kick them out, they get rid of them, and they go get these glamour guys, okay? Once they have arrived, so come on, man.
Yeah.
I get a little sick of this crap, man, with these so-called trainers. No, it's not. It was not Teddy Atlas's fault. It wasn't his fault that Bradley lost the fight, and Teddy shouldn't be feeling that he let him down. Bradley let himself down, if you want to use that term.
No doubt. Listen, I agree with you 100%. And generally, they get somebody in their ear saying this and that and the other thing. And next thing you know, just like you said, the trainer that let him stay at the house and fed him and clothed him and did all of that gets kicked to the curb. And he's right back where he was, So, at the end of this fight, to me, it was an easy decision. I thought that Manny Pacquiao won that fight hands down.
Very easy. Easy.
Right.
And with the 2 knockdowns, that really made
it. The one knockdown was definite. The other one, it was by definition a knockdown, but Timothy Bradley wasn't hurt or anything. But the other one, even when Timothy Bradley watched the replay, was like, man, that got me, But which incidentally, I think he's a class act. I mean, there's not. I don't know if you can find a better guy. But real quick, and then I want to move on to the other fight. But Floyd Mayweather reached out to Timothy Bradley and felt that the fight was a draw. And I'm saying to myself, oh man, here we go with Floyd. Floyd just can't. He's got a mental problem where he just can't let anyone get any other credit unless his name. And then it was released this morning, about 3 hours ago, before we came on air, that according to Steven Espinoza, the bigwig over at Showtime, Floyd Mayweather has said that he will fight Manny Pacquiao for a rematch if the fans want it. So I mean, we all knew that rematch was going to happen. Of course, it's going to happen. We knew that, Larry.
Give me a break, man. Nobody. Who wants to see it again?
Yeah, but all the Pacquiao fans now say, "See, his shoulder's healed. They'll pay for it." Mayweather fans are going to think that Floyd will do the same exact thing. And at the end of the day, the only reason why we know why Floyd wants this is the part that I can't stand. And how some of his fans just drink that Kool-Aid. The bottom line is Floyd knows that he'll make another $200 million or more. Probably even more.
And the results will be the same. Pacquiao can't beat Floyd Mayweather with a bad shoulder, without a bad shoulder. And I don't even buy that bad shoulder crap in the first.
A lot of people don't. So it's pretty crazy. Let's talk about the fight that I loved. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved watching the Pacquiao Bradley fight. To me, it was an extremely.
I know what you're going. I know the fight. Good.
I know, but
I love.
But Pacquiao Bradley was extremely entertaining. But man, does this kid Anthony Joshua just? I mean, this is a guy. I don't remember being as excited for a heavyweight fighter, a young heavyweight fighter, as I am for him. He is calm, cool, and collective in there. We all saw his demonstration of one-punch knockout power. And to top it all off, although he's had some trouble in the past legally, this guy seems so humble and well-grounded. I can't wait for him to get the next step. I know he's considered a world champion right now. I think that he's still in development stage. What's your thoughts, man, overall? The fight, where he goes, all that.
Let me tell you. I fell in love with a heavyweight again, man. Up until I saw this kid, Deontay Wilder, and I still got high hopes for Wilder. But 2 things happened to me watching that fight Saturday. I said, wow. There's excitement in the heavyweight division again.
Yep.
Really. And I mean on both sides of the Atlantic. Like it used to be. When you had Bruno and all those guys on one side and Tyson and all the other guys on the other side. Now we got Wilder and, the guys, the heavyweights on this side, and we got Joshua and Fury and and all those guys on others. Man, there's excitement in the heavyweight division again. But let me tell you, that guy, that kid Joshua, I like I said, the only fear that I have of him is that I feel that he has arrived a little bit too soon at the heavyweight division. I don't know. I could be wrong, and I hope so. But man, that right hand, is straight, picture perfect. And when it lands, it's lights out.
Yeah.
And when the bell rang for round 1, after 30 seconds into the round, I was texting a couple of friends. I said, I got to hurry up and get this text through before it happens. Okay? I said, you're going to see a knockout in this fight, or Joshua is going to win every round. I said, Martin's going out early, or he's going to lose every round. Because I could see the fear and how he was fighting. You know, he was waiting and how he was fighting, and he was straight up. And a southpaw, one thing a southpaw cannot do, a southpaw has to always give head movement and constantly move away from the power hand of the orthodox fighter. Keep him turning. But Martin stayed right in the line of fire, and every time he jabbed, his head was straight up. I said, oh, my gosh. You could see it coming. And this kid, Joshua, I'm so excited about this kid because he looked to me, without the movement, I mean, his body build, his height, you know, and just the way he looked, he reminded me so much of Muhammad Ali in his stature. I said, oh, man, this guy is really going to cause a whole lot of excitement, and they need to bring him to the United States because I think he's really going to be a big hit.
You know, it's funny you say that about his body. I'm watching him, and as I'm looking, I always look at a fighter's body, and it's probably not the right thing, because sometimes you see a guy that just doesn't look like anything, and you know, body wise, physique wise, and he's a great fighter. And then other times you see these chiseled Adonis looking guys, and you know, they go out. But when I look at Anthony Joshua, I see a perfect body that's all proportionate. You know, he's got you know, a big upper body, but his legs are big too. You know, it's not like he's just pumping iron and looking good. And you know, the thing is that he uses his jab to set up that power right hand. The thing about Charles Martin and Anthony Joshua, for that matter, is an example of what's wrong with boxing. And the reason why I say that, Larry, is because, honestly, as much as we both love Anthony Joshua, and as much as I agree with you, he is the guy, and I've said this for a long time, neither one of them, technically, was ready for a world title fight, at least by my definition. Neither one of them. I mean, Anthony Joshua has fought some bigger names, you know, but Charles Martin had never been tested, ever. You know, and to even get that title, he got the title because the other guy breaks his leg or some crazy thing like that. Football, yeah, you know, it's like a football injury, you know, and he's a champion. Yeah, ACL in the ring, and in less than 2 rounds, we still don't know about him, even to this day. And, you know, he's the world title holder, you know. You know, at the end of the day, the system is failing the sport just as much as some of the people that are involved in it, you know, and you can't have this. But with all these sanctioning bodies, it opens up the doors to let stuff like that happen, you know. But at the end of the day, man, what a bright spot on the sport, man. I love this kid.
Yeah, and like I said, I always felt, and we talked about this last week before the fight, I always felt that Joshua was arriving too soon. You know, you see that a lot today in boxing. And again, you attribute it a lot to the sanctioning organization because there are so many, you know, and they're shuffling these fighters around, you know, eliminators and champions in recess and all this other crap. Okay? So what happens is that a lot of these fighters don't get a chance to really develop like we're used to seeing them decades and generations ago. You know, we don't get the opportunity and the pleasure of watching kids develop through the ranks, improve along the way. You see them in one fight, they look good. Then you see the next fight, they fight a southpaw. The next fight, you know, they fight some guy that gives them a little bit more movement. You see the development. You see the stages. And you kind of feel as a fan, you feel like you came along for the ride. And that's what makes the sport, you know, that's what makes you fall in love with the sport of boxing, as well as fall in love with some of the fighters, because you feel like you came along with them through their development. what happens today now is that a lot of these fighters learn how to really fight as champions. You don't learn how to fight as a champion. You learn how to fight on your way to the championship. And by the time you become the champion, you should be the polished, finished product. But, we're seeing a different picture now. Now we got to look at a real talent in the heavyweight division who's really not fully developed. And in many ways, the fans come away feeling robbed, because if Joshua doesn't really make it, you're going to say, wow, man, there was an opportunity to see perhaps a fighter who could have really taken the heavyweight division or even boxing to a new level if he had only had the opportunity to come through the ranks properly, fighting the different styles and, developing properly. But he arrived at the heavyweight championship, too quickly, and then he goes in against someone else and gets knocked out or something unfortunate happens.
Right.
And I'm just hoping that doesn't happen.
I think that this guy is so technically sound, but I agree with you. I've said it myself, and it's a shame, that the powers that be have successfully bamboozled the fans, because you have a whole new generation of fan that buys into it. It's like a fight that's taking place this weekend. Gary Russell Jr. Is taking on Patrick Hyland. No disrespect to Patrick Hyland, but Gary Russell Jr., it seems like they know something about Gary Russell that, they're just not putting him in tough. His toughest opponent, he lost to Lomachenko, and now, he's, title defense against Patrick Hyland, and Patrick Hyland's got this great record and blah, 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 but that's not going to be a competitive fight, you say to yourself, and exactly what you said, when they're a champion, that's when all the great fights should happen against other polished fighters. But we're seeing, he's developing, he's getting better, he's getting it. Well, he shouldn't be parading around with a belt then, and
that's right.
And honestly, right. Anthony Joshua now, can't make an excuse. If they want to make a fight with Deontay Wilder and somebody says, well, he's not ready for that fight yet, I'm going to, be against it, because as much as I love the kid, now he's a champion. And the obligations of being a champion is to make defenses against, real opponents, and I think he will. And I think that this guy, I said it when he first turned pro, I think that this guy is the next great heavyweight. I think he's going to control this division, and he's going to, like you said earlier, bring the excitement back. I can't wait. It's like I can't wait for his next fight. I feel about him the way I feel about Triple G and Kovalev. I mean, those three guys, I just can't wait to see them again,
You can't wait to see these guys, man. And I was just saying this the other day. There have for a long time now. You can go on demand like HBO and Showtime on demand, and once there's a fight that takes place on a Saturday night, the following week you can go on demand and see it again. Very few fights today am I that enthusiastic about seeing a second time. I'm saying, wow, what the hell is wrong with me? You look on, I be scrolling down, sometimes on that on-demand menu, and you see these fights, and I look for a movie or something like that. I remember the time, man, where I couldn't wait to see Hagler Hearns again, or, Hearns Leonard again. See them fight 2 and 3 times, But there's very few fights like that. I mean, there are a few, but I mean, not like it used to be.
No. No. Well, hey, maybe we're heading in the right direction. But Larry, I appreciate your time early, and we'll be looking forward to your thoughts next week. And man, does time fly when we start chatting about stuff. Especially you. You're all fired up today. I love it. That's good stuff, my man.
Okay. All right.
Hey, enjoy your day. The weather's finally changing, and I will talk to you next week.
Okay, Billy. Take care.
All right. Take care. That's my man Larry Hazard, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey's boxing commissioner. We got the Blast from the Past coming up. We'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Beat Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. I want to give a shout out to our ESPN New Hampshire listeners. Glad you guys could join us this morning. And don't forget, today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria. Check it out on the website, his menu, that is, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. And JKJ Boxing Magazine. It's for free, so subscribe today. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing magazine. Each week, we like to talk about fighters from yesteryear, and so it's time for the
Blast from the Past. We shine the spotlight again on fighters from years past.
top-ranking heavyweight. Joe Louis is the leading contender.
Joe Frazier with a left hook. Good right hand thrown by Foreman that time. Look at that left hook. That goes to Ray Mancini.
It's Blast from the Past on Talkin' Boxing.
And this week's Blast from the Past, which is being sponsored by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Features another Paisan, and he's actually one of my all-time great fighters, Rocky Marciano. And joining us right now to tell us all about The Rock is my man Alex Perpali. What's up, brother?
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
Good. And now that you feel good and refreshed and all cleaned out, you're ready to roll, right?
Oh, yes. Coffeeed up. I'm ready for the blast.
There you go. And we got another Paisan today. We kind of, we've talked about Rocky Marciano a lot, just over the course of this show. But I figured let's do a focal point on him. And, a lot of people today, I don't think they give him the credit. The old-timers do, and the boxing purists do, but a lot of the younger fans, I'm not so sure they're giving him the credit that he deserves. And I've even heard people say he never fought anybody, that there was no, the heavyweight division wasn't strong during his era and all of that stuff, and I think we'll be able to prove otherwise today. Tell us about The Rock.
Yeah, that was one of the quotes that I heard. I can't remember now who said it, but it was in one of the there's a ESPN. I think it's that series Sports Century documentary. I had that going in the background while I was looking up some things on his record. And there's a line that I can't remember now. Like I said, who it was that says it, but he might be. I think it was Steve Farhood that Marciano is the most overrated. Oh no, I think it's Teddy Atlas, the most overrated and underrated heavyweight champion ever. And I think you could argue that because of some of those things you mentioned that we'll get to, his title reign and quality of just the duration and quality of opposition. But he suffers, I think, from some of the same things that Larry Holmes suffered from, in the sense that he came after a really great dominating champion in Lewis. But in some ways he did recapture some of the older imagination, at least of the public at the time. But yes, Rocco Francis Marchigiano was his given name. They shortened it a bit into Marciano. They removed a couple of letters there. They yanked the HEG out to make him more marketable. Like LaMotta, who we talked about last week, this was a time where the immigrant population looked a little different than today's immigrant population, but was faced similar hardships in the fact of just plain discrimination and bigotry. Italians were looked down upon, and he definitely came from a blue collar working class section of Brockton, Massachusetts, and his father was a shoemaker. Worked in the sweatshops there, making shoes with lots of other Italians and other immigrants. And I think I didn't mention his birth date, September 1st, 1923, which is sort of an interesting thing we'll get to later when we talk about his passing. Just if you look at the numerology of his life, that's sort of interesting. But yeah, September 1st, 1923, the Brockton Blockbuster, of course, was his nickname. He was not a tall fella for a heavyweight champion, that's for sure. At only 5'10" and a half, and I think that some places might have him listed a little shorter. And usually he went around 185 pounds, which is just plain remarkable compared to the giants of today. But the thing he had, like nobody else, Billy C., was punch.
Well, there's no question about that. I wanted to ask you, I had heard at one point that the name, I heard conflicting stories that when they changed their name to Marciano, there's some stories that say he did it because he was afraid to get beaten by the wooden spoon from his Italian mother because they didn't want him to fight. And then there's other sides of the story that say that they misspelled it in the paper, and he just kept it because they felt that, like you said, it was easier to market, and it was easier for people to remember. But this kid was an athlete in school. When he was growing up, he was a big-time athlete in football and baseball. And he even played basketball, too, considering he was short. But he was so much into the sport of baseball that he actually wanted to be a pro. And, he was crushed that, he went and tried out to be a professional player, I believe, with the Chicago Cubs. And he was crushed that he couldn't make it. He was a catcher. And ultimately joined the service. He was kind of embarrassed to go home because he was such a superstar athlete in his hometown, and he just felt that, he would let everyone down, and he still tried to stay in baseball, and eventually got into boxing, and that's when we walked into a gym and they all laughed at him. They said, "You'll never be a fighter. You'll never amount to nothing. You do everything wrong. Yeah, your footwork is wrong. You hold your hands wrong. You deliver your punches wrong. Get out of here." The rest is history, right?
That's for sure, and it is amazing. He was deceiving in his looks because, he was definitely an athletic guy, but he didn't look like anything special. Angelo Dundee described him as having 2 left feet, stooped shoulders, balding, but man, could he punch. And the thing that is kind of strange about it is he, as a catcher, I guess when he did try out for the Cubs, he had a hard time getting the ball to the pitcher's mound. And it's interesting because we've done this. I think Battling Siki was another guy who had gotten a reputation of being a grenade thrower and being really good at it in World War I. That shoulder girdle, the musculature, and the sort of kinesiology of how that works. There's got to be some connection with throwing really monstrous punches because you do. I mean, some of Marciano's blows that was one of the things I think was an advantage. He took some of the things that, like Mike Tyson did later, some of the things that you would think are disadvantages because of his size, in this real atavistic sort of natural style, brawling, aggressive, coming forward, weird angles, punches coming from really strange directions. When you see him knock out Archie Moore, the punch comes, it's like this wild overhand shot. Yeah, I wonder if there is a connection with throwing a baseball or throwing a football, because, like you said, those are two sports he was good at. You know, his mother, when you do look at some of the details of his life, there's a reason why those movies are called Rocky, because there's no question, and I think you get some of this in Graziano and even LaMotta's life too, that Stallone, being a boxing fan, definitely borrowed some details. That was one of the things that Marciano, when he was known for bouncing around a little rubber ball, which Rocky does, I'm pretty sure, in I think at least in the original. I'm not sure if he keeps doing that through the other movies. But that's supposed to be good with your reflexes. There's another thing that, eye-hand coordination. I think in the first Rocky, doesn't Mickey tie his legs together? That was another thing that Marciano did. I mean, trainers did that. But his balance was so lousy and he didn't know how to stand. He came to boxing kind of late. He had learned it in the service and then didn't turn pro till 25.
Right. Yeah, and I think some of the other thing, they have fighters chasing chickens around to help them. But one thing I wanted to mention, similar, I'm not comparing the two by any stretch, but Ernie Shavers is a guy that walked into the gym and they told him he's doing everything wrong, and the same thing. They said, well, you know what? Forget what we're telling you. You keep doing what you're doing, because he was destroying people with the freakish nature of his power. But, the thing about Rocky Marciano, and this is my argument all the time, because I believe he's an all-time great, and he's a pound-for-pound top fighter because, and I know this is going to sound funny, because he didn't really have the skills. Like, you look at Floyd Mayweather or Sugar. Let's rephrase that. You look at Sugar Ray Robinson, and you see that he had all the skills. He had movement, he had hand speed, he had punching power, he had great defense. I mean, he had it all, right? And even in all due respect to Floyd, you could say he's got great defense, he's got hand speed, etc. You can isolate the skill set with Rocky Marciano. He had punching power. Everything else was not there. And to achieve what he did, similar to guys like Arturo Gatti, when I made my case where I felt that he did belong in the Hall of Fame, Rocky Marciano got by and achieved everything with limited skills. What he did do well, aside from punch real hard, was that he was always in great condition. He prided himself on being in great condition. And, that carried him. And my question really, Alex, is this. If Rocky Marciano, forget the size disadvantage and all of that, but if Rocky Marciano fought today, in today's rules, there's a lot of his fights, especially the one that comes to mind is the Ezra Charles fight when his nose was flopping around on his face, that he would have lost because the referees would have stopped the fights, due to cuts and taking beatings because of his lack of defensive skill. I mean, he's kind of came at the right time for his style to be able to accomplish what he did, because I don't think he would be undefeated today, because I think a lot of the fights would have been stopped short. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, especially that Ezra Charles one. You can't really see because of the nature of cameras back then. But there is video, of course, of most of his fights, and you can get to it on YouTube. But you can't see how grisly that shredded nose was in the Ezra Charles fight. But they described it as like two pieces. It was like in shreds. There was literally like two pieces of meat hanging from the hole in his face.
Yeah, it was flopping. It was moving on his face. The two,
grisly.
Yeah, I mean, jeez.
It sounds like something out of a Walking Dead episode.
Yeah.
But I guess he was aghast at what he saw when he did go to the locker room, the mirror in the locker room after the fight. But that's another one of those things. I think just like you're right. I mean, like we dealt with LaMotta, I think the the shortcomings that these guys had in skill, they made up for with this absolutely unnatural will and determination that we don't. It's there are times we see it today, but it's rarer, and I think that's what makes it something much more beautiful when you do see it today, and more notable in a way. I mean, I guess in some people would say that's sad, but hey, this was the '50s, of course. That was Rocky Marciano was a great symbol of that dedication, just maniacal dedication. This was another thing where they took from the Rocky movies, or you see in the Rocky movies. Al Weil, his manager, he made him. He said boxing comes before love, and Marciano would stay away from the ladies for especially those final 2 weeks of a training camp. So all his focus was completely on his opponent, completely on that task. He did not entertain the idea of losing. That aspect of supreme confidence was definitely part of it. There was one point they talked about before the first fight with Walcott. He was running with his running buddy, Ali Colombo, was a good friend from childhood, and Colombo sort of made a reference where he kind of suggested, well, what are we going to do if, that kind of thing. And Rocky stopped, and he said, look, we can't entertain the idea, I'm winning this fight. That there is no other if. So that, I think, just like we saw with LaMotta in a fight like where he was way behind, every round to Dotil, he just decided, I gotta win this fight in the final round, and he was able to turn it on. Marciano had that same ability, and we see it in the Charles fight.
Yeah, nothing against the athletes of today, but they clearly do not have the heart that athletes of previous generations have. They just don't. I don't think humans have as much as they used to. I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of people.
I think you have a point. We don't see it as much, but we see it in other weird places. It comes up where a person runs into a car that's burning, or
right,
or
yes,
pulls a person out of a sinkhole that appeared in a street or something.
Right.
That kind of spirit, and there definitely was that. That's the way Marciano looked at his fights, as this was life or death. And one of the things, and I remember this also from Joe Louis, there was just an eerie sense of calm. There was something preternatural about a guy like this. He liked naps. He was a big believer in naps. And in the few minutes before a fight, a couple of hours before a fight, when you're in the dressing room, a lot of guys treat that full of nervous energy. It's almost like you're waiting for the gallows, a man waiting for a date with the gallows. Guys read the Bible, they pace around. Not Marciano, he'd take a nap.
Yeah. I mean, that everybody dealt with things different, and
yeah.
he was a warrior. When you look at this guy's record, all right, there's a lot of discussion about his record, and a lot of people think that, he didn't fight anybody and stuff, but he fought who was available to him at the time. But you could argue that, he was calculated, that his career was calculated. And his first big fight, which was actually a controversial fight in 1950 against Roland LaStarza. LaStarza was undefeated. Now people have referred to LaStarza as a not a good fighter, but Ronald LaStarza was a really good fighter. As a matter of fact, these were two undefeated fighters going against each other, and many people believe that LaStarza got robbed in that fight in 1950 at the Garden. Rocky ended up winning a split decision, and it was actually only the second time he went to the scorecards in his career. And Roland LaStarza would go on and fight him again, but that was a really, really tough fight, and that is what kind of got Rocky Marciano. After that fight, Rocky Marciano definitely started to get better and got to that next level, because up to that point, he wasn't challenged as much as he was in the first Listarza fight.
Yeah, and I think that was something, you're right, that kind of used, a guy like a Marciano used that, what he learned about himself and how he almost, he got so close, he almost came up short in that fight. He wasn't going to let that happen to him again. He tripled his dedication, and that fight, he eventually did have a rematch with him. You're right, that fight was a split decision. There was, in the 8th round, there was a punch that was called low that was questionable, and or that Listarza at least felt that that's what gave him an advantage, and if not for that sort of dirty tactics, that fight would not have been close. So that Listarza, he was a bit of a talker. Marciano really wanted to get him back, and that was when they did eventually fight. He really punished him. People thought that he sort of took his time, really shellacking him. But you're right, that was probably the Tim Bradley of that age. A heavyweight Tim Bradley. When you think about it, a guy who's a real dedicated and would be number one if not for Marciano. Bradley would be the number one guy, would be the usurper of the division with Mayweather gone, if Pacquiao wasn't there, because he just comes up a little short every time they meet. And you could say that maybe that was the case with at least Marciano made that be the case with a Roland Listarza, really pummeled him. I think it was 11th round knockout in their rematch.
in the second fight. We should do a blast on Listarza, but I believe if my memory serves me correctly, I think Listarza dropped Rocky in the first fight. I think that that was the first time he hit the canvas, I believe, and he did get up, and he was in some trouble in that fight. There's no question about it. And a lot of people felt that he got the benefit of the judges' scorecards on that one. But
one thing I do just want to throw out there also is that one thing that's also interesting was that, in a way, that first fight with Listarza was a bit of a comeback for Marciano, because and it just shows you how much these guys how busy they were. He's fighting almost every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And then there's a couple months off because Carmen Vingo eventually died, and that was somebody that Marciano had stopped in December of '49. He took a couple of months off. It was actually Vingo's family who urged him, "Hey, keep doing this. Keep at it. He'd want you to continue on." And so that fight with Listarza comes after a bit of a longer layoff than Marciano was used to.
Yeah, a long layoff. It was only 3 months.
Right.
So no, actually, it was it was only 3 months.
From December to March. Yep.
Yeah,
not even 3. Not even 3 full months. You're right.
Now we jump for joy if a fighter fights 3 times in a year. But
and I mean, he's one of those guys that certainly banished the demons of that being fearful that you might hurt a guy. Some guys can never come back from that.
Well, one of his big fights that he had later in his career against Ezra Charles. Ezra Charles, killed a guy in the ring and was never viciously went after a fighter again. And changed his whole style. But the next big fight he had, again against a fighter that people disregard as a talented fighter, was Rex Lane in 1951. Again at the Garden, Rex Lane was a tough hombre, man, and Rocky Marciano knocks him out. There's some guys on his resume that he doesn't get credit for, and the 2 big names that I always point out is Rex Lane and Roland Listarza. They're not as well known, because people, and Lee Saville too was another really tough opponent. People always talk about Joe Louis fight, but then they say Joe Louis was finished. They talk about Jersey Joe Walcott fight, and they say Walcott was too small. I have that famous. I'm looking at it here in my studio, beyond the camera shot. I have my office, and I'm looking at the famous shot where it looks, like a character from outer space. The film was so much worse back then, and whoever took the shot just caught the crumbling and the distorted face of Jersey Joe in that when that punch is landed. It's just amazing to see that this guy didn't kill him. I mean, it just doesn't even look human, his face. If nobody knows the picture I'm talking about, just Google it. It's a very famous picture. But
and I'm not sure if I think it's I think it might actually be his fight with Joe Louis, a similar face mashing punch photo like that has been used as a photo for album covers and stuff. But that Marciano Walcott one, you're right, is a famous picture. It's amazing to think that a photographer caught that with those older, but that was, I'm sure he had the best camera of the day that caught it. But yeah, nowadays you could get every,
you can
get
see
a little piece of snot that came out, right?
Yeah, well, what's funny is when you see photos of the photo guys, when you see photos of the press, you see these guys that, first of all, had a hat on that said press, so you were clearly identified, right?
Had a suit with a collar,
right,
and everybody did,
and they got those, newfangled cameras with the flash bulb on it, and they had the luxury of filming on a white canvas that, really showed up terrible. I mean, and a lot of those old fights that you watch on TV are one camera shoots, and they had no sound. They put canned sound of punches and everything, like the Gillette series. Those were all canned sounds and crowds and everything. It was, people don't understand, but he went on and fought Joe Louis in 1951 and ended Joe Louis's career once and for all. His aspirations of regaining the title again came to a halt in the 8th round against Rocky Marciano.
Yeah, and that was a very difficult victory for Marciano because, of course, he had idolized Louis. But in a way, that's one of the things that people don't really understand, I think, from maybe other sports. Well, I think they probably do. If you get into a sport, there's probably somebody that you followed and you were into. And I guess there's a part of you that wants to try your hand against the people that inspired you. So that, in a way, Marciano got to do that. However, the nature of boxing is that the object is to render your opponent senseless. And nobody could do that like Marciano. So he was, those reports of him crying and stuff afterwards and being very moved by having nearly decapitated somebody he once idolized. But yeah, that was one of the things that definitely gave him a lot of credibility with the public.
I tell you what, he would have cried more if he got to see the image that's burned in my mind of Joe Louis being wheeled out at the last public fight that he attended in Las Vegas, and subsequently died a few days later. Actually, yesterday was the anniversary of his death. He was only 66, and if people go and Google that, which is available, I believe it was a Holmes fight, you see how old he looked. He looked like he was in his 90s, and the guy was only 66 years old,
Yeah,
and,
he looked shot.
Oh,
yeah.
my God, but there was some rumors about drug addiction and stuff like that. But, hey, Alex, listen.
You could certainly make what's that Quentin Tarantino movie, I think True Romance, where they keep using the line, live fast, die young, and leave a good-looking corpse. In a sense, Marciano, who like you said, he tried out for the Cubs as a catcher. That was one of the arguments you could make of him as a fighter, is that he was too much of a catcher. We never saw whether or not he suffered the debilitating effects of a career in the ring, because he didn't live past, 48 years old, 49 years old.
Was he that old? I thought he was a little younger. But hold that thought. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll finish up on Rocky Marciano, and and then we'll throw some other stuff at Alex. So we'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe. On the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretcher, that man, I would think.
Palla tagliata, messa fuori, c'è
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com, part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C Morning Show, and we're right in the middle of our weekly blast from the past. And my man Alex Papali is with us, and we were just talking about Rocky Marciano. Obviously, we're finishing up, and of course, we go further than we normally do because this guy's got a lot of stuff to talk about. You know.
Yeah, he's when you get to these the legendary guys, it's hard not to start to blither.
Now, how old
Especially
was
when
he?
you got two Italian guys talking about.
I know,
Italian
they're talking about a paisan. How old was he when he died?
Yeah, you were right. He was younger. He was only 46, and actually, I'm not sure if I didn't math it up, but he died on August 31st in a plane crash. His birthday's September 1st, so he was a day before he turned 47 or a day before he turned 46. My bad.
Well, you know, the thing about his death, which we're jumping a little forward here because I wanted to talk about his title win and subsequently a couple of defenses and then his retirement. But you know, he filmed that fight with Muhammad Ali. They did that their version of what computer rendering would have been, because Ali was at that time, Muhammad Ali, still known as Cassius Clay, was up and coming, and all the old timers were saying he would have never beat Rocky Marciano, blah blah blah. So they talked Rocky Marciano into doing that film, and they actually had multiple endings to it.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. Have you?
No, I never have, and I didn't realize. See, for me, I guess growing up in the '80s, when they say computer, I think it's simulated.
No, it wasn't.
They really acted it out.
Yeah, they acted it out, and this is what I was getting at. When he agreed to do it, he was, 40-something-year-old guy, and he was out of shape. He was balding and all that stuff. He was almost all the way bald. And during the film, he had a toupee on. They put a toupee, and he went back to training.
Yeah, he when they first got out, he looked a little like Amir Khan.
Yeah, I mean,
a little chubby.
Yeah, he looked a little chubby when he but he got into really good shape, and as a result of it, he was secretly contemplating a comeback. And a lot of people don't realize that, but he was. He felt that his body was, he felt really good, and he wanted to make a comeback. And ultimately, he wasn't able to because of his death. Because he died before they released that film. That film wasn't even released. And as a result, they ended up showing the version that he won. Because they had filmed 3 different endings, and they weren't going to divulge which one they were going to play. They were actually going to play each one different times. They had Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali winning one, Rocky winning one, and one being a draw. But Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. But,
yeah, I gotta see if you have a copy, let me know. I'd love to see it sometime. That's
Coach just posted the YouTube. It's up on YouTube.
Oh, really? Because that's where I saw a clip of it in one of the documentaries I was looking at yesterday. They showed a few moments of it, and that was where they even said that because I guess it looked, from what they showed, it looked kind of cool, where they were sparring. I mean, they had no headgear on, it was like a real fight.
Well,
and,
if you
and
read,
Marciano was sort of open up on his body, and
yes,
I guess Ali
yes,
said that he kind of hurt him.
Yes. I was just gonna say, and that's what they were saying. At one point, Muhammad Ali said, "Wait a minute, this fight isn't for real." Rocky Marciano, couldn't really hold back. He couldn't, even though he had been retired, and
I tell you, that tells you something just about the civility of just people in general. Yesterday I was reading about the novelist Gore Vidal, and Gore Vidal, this is just as an aside, he was this famous liberal, and ABC for a while had a series, I think it was 10 parts of debates with William F. Buckley, who was a famous conservative. They're amazing because these guys brutalize each other, but it's completely civil. They use their vocabulary. It almost gets a little out of hand in a couple of them. But to think that here's Muhammad Ali, one of the most incendiary figures of American history, and Rocky Marciano, fake fighting. They must have been getting on each other's nerves, and yet they do it. They have this subordinate superlative goal in the sense that they're trying to make this fight. But I think today that would degenerate into someone shooting the other one in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like a fight used to just be with your fist, maybe a knife. Now, you cut somebody off and you're risking getting shot at the next light. So
yeah, I mean, because can you imagine Ali? I'm sure every time they yelled "cut," there would be little back and forth between the two of them.
Yeah, no, Ali has said that. He said that he hit hard. And, Rocky Marciano, because of his conditioning, was going to consider a comeback and never got it. But anyway,
that's one of the things that, to me, is when you think about Ali, against Marciano and his place in history, Bill, his power was bone-crunching. They would describe it, he could shear a tooth off at the jaw with one shot. That's spooky power.
Yeah, they measured it somehow, and
they did.
Yeah, and they said that it was one of the only guy that came close was Ernie Chavis.
They said the U.S. testing company was some sort of military installation. He went and they tested it. He punched into a machine or something. They measured it. They came up with 950 foot-pounds. It was the equivalent of an armor-piercing shell.
Amazing stuff. It makes me laugh. I couldn't watch it. But Sylvester Stallone and Robert De Niro did some stupid movie where they were fighters that, were going to fight again at, 50 years old. And they were supposed to do something similar to the Marciano Ali thing. And, it was, I turned it off after that. I just couldn't get into it. But
yeah, I never watched that.
Yeah, oh God, don't save your life. Save those moments of your life. But Rocky Marciano gets, those fights, he passes by Joe Louis, his idol. He beats Lee Seville, and he finally gets a shot at the world title and becomes the heavyweight world title in 1952 against Joe Walcott. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's where we were saying that one of the most famous fight photos ever. He stops him. He was dropped himself, was put down early. But he comes back late in the 13th round. He hit Walcott with what basically looks like a tank shell in a straight right hand. I believe it was named Suzy Q. And down goes Walcott. And the title changed hands. He actually defeated him again in a rematch. So, one of those things, this is the thing that's amazing about Marciano is that, yes, his career was not as long as some other guys, and it wasn't, peppered with multiple defenses like a Joe Louis, but he ticked off all the things you kind of expect a guy to do. In the rematch, he destroyed Walcott, stopped him in one round.
Well, he was losing the first fight. He was losing that fight.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was what thing was amazing. So he had these, come from behind KO wins. We talked about, his title-winning effort was one of them. His win over Ezzard Charles was another. He has great names on his record: Walcott, Charles, Archie Moore. Archie Moore moving up to heavyweight, and again, that had some great build-up to it too, because Moore really wanted that fight. And I guess he sort of pursued him, and there would be times where Marciano would be on the golf course, and he'd get a note, and it would be Archie Moore, you're going to let an old man beat you?
Yeah.
And he'd see the note and must be like, where is this guy? I got to fight him.
Well,
so they did end up fighting.
The funny thing about that fight, which incidentally was his last fight, the Archie Moore was still the world light heavyweight champion, and he was winning that fight. He had to remember, he kept saying, I have the formula to beat Rocky. I have the formula. And he was winning that fight until he got caught with the power. I mean, Rocky Marciano was never out of a fight, even if he was losing a fight, because of his freakish punching power. All he had to do was land one, and he had that, like you said, that sense of calm and confidence that it would happen, within the allocated time of the fight, and he ultimately fights his last fight against Archie Moore in Yankee Stadium, September 21st in 1955, and hung him up, never to come back. Although he did consider it, never came back, was very successfully financially, Alex. As a matter of fact, he never wanted to take a check from anybody. If somebody wanted to pay, wanted cash, and somebody would say, well, we owe you $5,000, all I got is $2,000, Rocky would say, give me the cash, see you later. Didn't want a check, didn't have a bank account. And to this day, a lot of people believe, because he never paid for nothing either. He always got people to reach into their pocket. He felt that, he was a brand. He was ahead of his time, really. But a lot of people believe that he stashed his money somewhere because nothing was ever found. There wasn't any bank accounts. There was nothing. And Rocky Marciano, to this day, there's a rumor that he stashed his money somewhere and nobody ever found it.
Yeah, I'm surprised Geraldo Rivera hasn't tried to pitch a reality show searching for.
Remember when he had that one broken bottle of champagne in Al Capone's vault? Remember when he
right.
What a joke!
That was one of the biggest TV buffs ever.
And one other thing I want to add, real quick, a little connection to all of us today. Rich Cappiello, a promoter in your neck of the woods, actually he's out of Massachusetts, but New England, and he does some matchmaking and stuff, is actually the cousin of Rocky Marciano. If you read...
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, the one of his, you had Ali Colombo, and then another one of his cousins that he hung out was Cappiello. And Cappiello, Rich Cappiello is the descendant, relative of Rocky's cousin, so he's second cousin to Rocky Marciano. So interesting little connection there. And they were all from Brockton. They were all lived in Brockton, Mass. So the family didn't go far.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Blue collar boxing town as well. Because later was the home of marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Yeah, some guy you think highly of, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, real big.
But yeah, that was the thing. That was one of the things I did want to, like you said, he would hide money in pipes and mattresses. He didn't trust banks. And he did. He was married. I don't know. He didn't seem like him and his wife were all that close.
No, he had an adopted.
I think he had 3 children.
Yeah, but he didn't have any son. It's
2
funny.
daughters, I think.
It's funny because I did get. There is a guy that is out there that says he's his son. I think it might have been an adopted son or something, but I think I'm pretty positive he didn't have any biological sons, but yeah, he had a couple of daughters, and his wife and him didn't spend too much time together. He was out and about a lot. She didn't like it, but it was a different world back then. She accepted it. She raised the kids. But if you've ever seen any pictures of her, she was kind of a bruiser herself. She wasn't exactly a good looker, but
yeah, and he, like every other heavyweight champion before him, he liked womanizing up to those final 2 weeks where he was celibate before fighting. But,
allegedly.
Yeah, the rest of the time, supposedly, he sure wasn't celibate.
So who'd you put him up against in the Title Bout Championship computer game?
Well, yeah, that's what makes this so interesting because, like you said, he was short on skills, but huge on ability to take punishment and incredible on the ability to dish it out. So how would he fare against today's much more scientific athletes? According to the Title Bout Championship boxing game, pretty good. And I think that, like we said, his size not only he turned it into an advantage because he'd make himself even smaller by fighting out of a crouch. I put him in against Tyson Fury, the heavyweight champion, Vlad Klitschko, and I put him in also at Krzysztof Glowacki, the guy we have at number 1 at cruiserweight, just because he was so light for a heavyweight.
Never fought more than 189.
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy how small that is.
It's a light heavyweight, pretty much. Well, it's a big oval, like you said, it's cruiserweight.
It's a small cruiser.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, so against Tyson Fury, the first time they fought, Marciano takes him out, stops him in the third round, 2 minutes and 11 seconds of round number 3, Marciano by KO. One judge did give Fury the second round. When they fight 100 times, Marciano dominate. You can't get much more dominant than this. He wins 97, loses 3, scored 97 knockouts, a 100% knockout ratio. And Fury, of his 3 wins, 2 of them were by stoppage. When he fights Vlad Klitschko the first time, Vlad wins. Unanimous decision, 114, 113. When they fight 100 times, Marciano dominates him, wins 89 of them, 8 defeats, 3 draws, stops Klitschko 80 times. Of Vlad's 8 victories, he was able to stop Marciano 7 times. And against Krzysztof Glowacki, Marciano, the first time they fight, Marciano wins by 11th round TKO, stops him with a second to go in the round. Rocky was down in the 8th, but then he puts Glowacki down 3 times in the 11th. The third time he was down, they could have counted to 100. When they fight 100 times, Marciano gets the best of things. 96 victories, 3 defeats, 1 draw, 91 big KOs. Of Glowacki's 3 wins, he won them all by stoppage.
That's interesting. Rocky Marciano, our blast from the past today. Alex and I obviously could continue talking about him all day long. Undefeated as a professional, 49 wins, 0 losses. Sound familiar? 43 by knockout. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990, and unfortunately he left us way too soon. It would be interesting to see how he would be, should he be alive today at the ripe old age of 92. Him and Jake LaMotta, I'm sure, would be having some fun. So today...
Yeah, I think those are the big questions. How would he do against a Klitschko, and how would LaMotta do against a Golovkin? I think those are 2 of the big questions we got with the 2 blasts we've done.
Yeah. And... interesting because of the size factor with him. The LaMotta fight would be more even keel, but interesting stuff. Hey, Alex, we're almost out of time, but real quick, your thoughts on Manny Pacquiao's win over Timothy Bradley, and also the rumors that are already starting about the Mayweather-Pacquiao rematch, and Steven Espinoza is out today. You'll see it in the news saying that Floyd will fight him if the fans want it. So I think we're going to begin that promotional process. What's your thoughts on all?
I think the idea of Mayweather-Pacquiao, too, is a little wishful thinking on their part. I think, like you've said, there's so much money to be made, and the course of boxing usually is to have a rematch in a fight like that. But the first one was such a stinker and so difficult to make. I find it hard to believe that they would want to do it again unless the public was really clamoring for it. I don't think they are. If Manny, maybe if things were more thrilling Saturday night, they could have. But I think also the fact that Manny has plans on going off into the political sunset, I don't think that he's going to have the time to put that fight together. But of course, dollars makes everything different. I mean, I don't know. I thought the fight was good. It wasn't. I thought Bradley would look a little better and Pacquiao would look a little more shot. I thought Pacquiao looked very good. I kind of hope it is a career. I don't enjoy watching him as much anymore. This is sort of the low-impact Manny Pacquiao. He doesn't set his feet and really go to take guys out anymore. I don't blame him. He's got other things to do. He's not that blood and guts type warrior that he used to be. But he's still a very exceptional boxer. And, like we said earlier, he's just too much for Tim Bradley. And I think that I thought Bradley won 3 rounds. I gave him the 3rd, 8th, and the 11th. The official judges gave him 4 rounds, but with the knockdowns, it was the most convincing win for Pacquiao of the 3. And I thought it would be the other way around because Pacquiao's age would finally catch up with him, but it sure didn't.
I very rarely do we disagree, or maybe we disagree more than I know, but I thought that Pacquiao looked good. I thought that it was an exciting fight. I was into it, and I thought that one thing I noticed about Manny Pacquiao is that he did seem a little more attack mode. He seemed like he was moving his head a little more. He seemed difficult for Timothy Bradley to hit. And the other thing I noticed was that he seemed to have his timing. He was counterpunching Timothy Bradley pretty well, something that I really don't recall him doing as much. He was always an attack fighter, but that counterpunching ability of his, sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't, but it seemed sharp on Saturday night, at least in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. I think that's one of the things that's sort of peculiar about it. It's a guy who's still clearly one of the best boxers in the sport that I'm not all that excited to watch anymore because it's so differing from what he used to be.
Right. Right.
He's more of a boxer now, and you're right. It is. He's doing things, the more subtle things that are pretty to watch in the sense that. But they're not thrilling to watch. That's what I used to like about Manny, the fights with Morales especially, the ones that come to mind. That Manny's not here anymore.
Well, the knockout by Marquez clearly changed him because he does fight a little more cautious. Alex, I don't mean to cut you off. We're running out of time. Real quick, Anthony Joshua destroying Charles Martin. There's a new kid in town.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I think he did what you want to see heavyweights do, and I think that's why overall I think I was happy about the weekend because even though in a way I kind of hope this was the last we see of Manny Pacquiao, that he gets to go away in a good position like that, goes out on top. But I think the thing that was really encouraging was great to see Anthony Joshua look so patient and destructive. And did exactly what we kind of thought he would do against Charles Martin. There was a question of what Charles Martin what really was, but we found out he was not much.
Exactly.
And so Joshua did what he had to. And the other 2 things that I was really encouraged was Gilberto Ramirez and Oscar Valdez. I thought we saw good performances by them. So I think the future of the sport is looking good, and that's cool because the mainstream opinion on this sport is stick a fork in it, it's done.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say real quick is it's a shame because we do have the characters and the potential to get this sport on track. However, the nature of how the sport is run today, from a business perspective, from promotional, from television networks, and of course the sanctioning bodies, a lot of the great matchups may not happen because of politics, and you're right. That was my biggest surprise of the weekend. Gilberto Ramirez beating Arthur Abraham every round. Arthur Abraham.
And he looked really good.
Looked good, and here's a guy that you could, make the argument that he really, hasn't been tested, and he beat clearly one of the best in the division in Arthur. He was our number one guy, right? Or number two or something.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that was I was most impressed about, was that Abraham, the surge we always expect from Abraham late, it wasn't there.
He couldn't do it. He couldn't get the height and arm reach was too much, and he couldn't get the wheels rolling. But
yeah, and he was stymied with just really great body attack and just good combinations up and down.
I guess
from Ramirez.
I guess the meeting with Mike Tyson telling him that he had to knock him out didn't work as well as he thought, huh?
No, it didn't.
Alex, great job as usual, my man, and we'll look forward to you next week.
All right, Billy C, take care.
That's Alex Papali doing a great job as usual, but now we're going to do
This Day in Boxing History.
This Day in Boxing History is being brought to us by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, right now by visiting Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Now, if you're looking for the electronic versions, don't worry about it. It's on Kindle and Nook. If you're looking for a signed copy, just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section. And while you're in there, there's a lot of good books that I recommend, so pick up a copy of all of them. On this day, April 13th, in 2002, Michelle Picarillo wins a 12-round decision over Corey Spinks to win the vacant IBF World Welterweight title. It took place in Italy. On this day in 2002, Yod Sanin Nathachai wins a 12-round decision over Lakva Sim in Thailand and is subsequently awarded the WBA World Junior Lightweight title. On this day in 1982, Tadashi Tamori wins a 15-round decision over Amato Yusura to win the WBC Junior Flyweight title that took place in Tokyo. On this day in 1915, Joe Jeanette wins a 12-round decision over Sam Langford to win the World Colored Heavyweight title. It took place in Boston, Massachusetts. And on this day in 1914, Jeff Smith knocks out Pat Bradley in the 16th round of a scheduled 20-round contest to retain his world middleweight title, and that took place at Sydney Stadium in Sydney, Australia. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. I'll leave you with this. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.